proLibro is really the most powerful and complete way to deliver reference content available on the market today. It's an extremely high performance, very intuitive and very flexible system for clients to use to access reference content. So how do we actually deliver content to users in a way that makes it more useful for them? So we want to make it easy for them to use, because digital has a lot of advantages for us as content owners, and we want to ensure that we make that transition to digital. But for users to make the transition, it's got to be fast, it's got to integrate into what they're doing, and it's got to allow them to get to the content very quickly. So I'm going to show us a very quick demonstration of how proLibro handles high-performance navigation and getting around the content. So the first thing that we notice, of course, is proLibro is a collection of native applications working on the various platforms. In this case, this is the generic proLibro system, so I'm going to log into the system using my proLibro account. And it will go back and it will connect to our SaaS server to determine what titles I have access to in a controlled fashion. We have the ability to use a SaaS engine to communicate with the server to determine what titles I should have access to. And we use that connection in a number of different ways that I'll highlight as we go through this demonstration. So I'm going to start proLibro with this particular title. This is a collection of legislative content, and it's a really good representation of a high volume of material. So this product actually has about 3,500 pages of content. So extremely high, extremely large volume of content. And we'll see that the way that proLibro works is we have a continuous scrolling presentation of content. So we don't break things up into pages. We find pages are an inefficient construct for digital delivery. It's far more performant to be able to scroll through the content and see everything in context. But when we load the content, we're actually just loading small segments of content at a time, and we're discarding that from memory in the direction that we've come. So we keep a very tight footprint of content loaded at any given time. On my left-hand side, I've got a table of contents panel. On my right-hand side, I've got an actions panel. And the actions panel lets me do a number of different and interesting things. So first we'll look at the table of contents panel. We can see that we can expand our table of contents. We can go many levels deep into the material to identify what it is that we're looking for, and clicking on the content brings us to that location in our content view. Now you see we've jumped about halfway through, so that was a 1,500 page jump in the content, and we see that it's an instantaneous load of information. So when we talk about high performance navigation, it's the ability to allow the user to get around that content very quickly. If we're ever in the content and we're unsure where we are relative to our position, we can just click on this navigator and it will actually show us where we are within the structure of the content. And I can even click and drag to load up different sections. So if I'm familiar with the content, this is very similar to flipping through the content with your thumb. And I can jump to a specific location very quickly through that navigator function. So getting users to the information that they're looking for is the key goal. We don't want to slow them down. We want them to be able to very quickly find the information that they need. And we do this also using our history function. So the history allows us to load sections of content that we've seen before in our history view in the actions panel. And this history can go on for many weeks of information. So if there was a particular section in the content that I jumped to a few days ago, I can actually go through this history, identify that location, and jump to it very quickly within the content. Again, we're taking away the roadblocks that slow everything down in terms of getting the user to the content. Now, one of the things that users need to find information is search. And search we found on other platforms to be very slow, to be very difficult to use, and not taking advantage of a lot of the structural information that we've put into our source content. So when you do a search on a PDF, if you do a keyword search, for example, on a 3,000 page collection of content, it's going to be very slow. You're going to have a time period before your results show up. But if I execute this search within proLibro, we see that we've searched through 3,000 plus pages of content extremely quickly, and we're getting back our results not just in a linear fashion, but a relevancy ranked fashion. So our most important results are coming up at the top. We can also see that within the table of contents, it highlights where those search results are. So we can actually see the distribution of search results in our TOC. Makes it very useful for identifying the sections that are important to us. When we jump to the content, we can actually see the highlights, and we can navigate through our highlights very quickly to see the search results to our current search. So that's a keyword search. So keyword, we're already faster and more efficient in presenting more information for the user than any other system. But we also support a number of other search types. So we can do Boolean searching, for example, which is going to find words within proximity of each other. So it doesn't have to be the exact terms that are entered into the content. So the indexing system that we've used, Oliver has just asked a question about do we support Chinese characters. When we built the indexing system, we built it so that it's able to index characters separately. So we can extend the indexing system to other character types, including our symbolic character sets as well. So another search type that we're able to perform is going to be phrase searching. So I can search for exactly these terms now and find very quickly where these results are going to be within our content. And then we have proximity searching, so the ability to be able to search on content and find content within a certain number of terms of each other. So if I want to find youth and sentencing, and I want it to be within, let's say, 20 words of each other, we can do advanced searches such as that in a very rapid fashion. And we see not only where the terms are located, but we see the connectors as well. So search is a very powerful thing in and of itself, but we also have the ability to add context to our searching. When we create our source content collections, we add a lot of metadata, a lot of information that describes what types of content are in our collections. And a lot of that gets lost when we move out to other formats. But proLibro has the ability to index content based on its context. And we can see that this came from an XML collection. So we've indexed it for a number of different types of information that are of importance to this collection. So we have section numbers, definitions, marginal notes, and if I pick a definition, we see that it's changed the context for my search. If I do a definition search for the word minister, we can see that it's going to highlight minister where it's been used and tagged as a definition, but it's going to ignore the one that's in the marginal note, and it's going to ignore the other one that's in the content. So that ability to create contextual searching based on the tags that exist in our source material can be extremely powerful in creating complex templates for users to get to the information that they're looking for in a very simple and easy fashion. So search is a really potent capability within proLibro. We also have the ability to personalize the content. So personalizing the content, meaning we're able to add highlights, annotations, have that history that's associated with my content, is a very important component of using reference content easily. But you can see that we've done a number of highlights here, and we can see that there's a number of different colors being presented, and that's because we have the ability with our search system to be able to create context around our searches. So we can actually create searches of different types. So I can create a search called YY, and I'll save that particular search. And I'll add a note and save that note within the content. And we see that it's added my note to the collection. I can click on it to view this this particular note within the content. I can see the details of my note, including its location. If I'm in another section of the content, I can always view my notes and jump directly to those locations. But because we've given it context, we can also actually search on that as well. So I can go into advanced search and annotations, and I can say, show me all my notes. There we go. There's our term within the index for China, and I can say search on China and find me the notes that have that, that content within my note reference. So that personalization, that ability to create your own types, allows you to really mark the content up uniquely for your purpose and load that content on each of your different devices. So when I say each of your different devices, so here I'm looking at proLibro on an iPad device. So I'm going to launch the same title that that we just came from for our demonstration. And what we're going to see is we're going to see that proLibro works not just within the context of the individual devices that we're working on, but they actually work together. So we're going to be able to synchronize our annotations and our position and our history. All of that information that we've left within the content is now going to be available within my other platforms. So if I scroll to the bottom of my annotations here, we can see here is our annotation within the content, and we can jump directly to that location. If we take a look at our history, so this is the history of all of the actions that we did on our Windows platform just a moment ago. And what that means is that we can actually work on our desktop, mark our content up, use our products, and then move off to a meeting or to another location with our mobile devices, whether those mobile devices are tablets or smartphones. And we instantly have access to the same information, the same locations. All of it synchronizes dynamically via the cloud to bring us directly to that content. So personalizations are a very important aspect to our products. Now, when you introduced the meeting, one of the things that you talked about was the types of content you're looking to deliver. So you're looking to deliver HTML5. And HTML5 is the content container in which we deliver materials for the proLibro products. So we use HTML5, we use CSS3 for styling, and we actually have support for JavaScript in the creation of applets. Now keep in mind, we're delivering this content to the device. That means that this information is available to the user whether they're connected online or not, but we still have the ability to use all of the best features of web technologies. It's a very powerful thing because we could basically do within our content presentation whatever you would be able to do within a web, but still take advantage of the offline mode. We offer full MathML and SVG support, including indexing. So we have the ability to search within SVG images or MathML equations. And we offer a really interesting adaptive table support, which I will demonstrate in just a moment, along with the ability to extend content beyond the title. So let's take a look at that, at how that content presents on an iPad. So I'm going to jump into a production data sheet that we created from Texas Instruments content. And as we see, it presents in much the same way as we saw with the criminal code content. We can scroll through the material. It loads dynamically as we move through that content. And here's the first element that we'll take a look at. So we can see that this is a MathML equation. It's fully rendered within the content, so it's not an image. It will adjust for size and presentation, and it uses a JavaScript library called MathJax for its presentation and organization. Here we see a number of images within the content, and we can actually tap on those images and load them in what we call the media panel. So every platform has a media panel, which is the ability to present content that doesn't normally fit within the pages of a book. So you've got the ability to present images, audio, video, other documents such as PDF or Excel or Word documents. We can even connect out to external websites. So it's really useful when you're presenting something like a very detailed schematic and you want to be able to zoom in and get more detail on that content, but it still remains loaded. Even if I move off to another location, we will still have that content loaded in the media panel for me to go back to and refer to until it's replaced by other content. So media panel is a really functional tool for allowing us to present a lot of external content, and it's really limited only by the imagination on how it's to be implemented and used. So I talked a moment ago about table support. So here we can see a detailed table. So this table actually extends multiple pages within the print version, and spreads very widely on print as well. So the way we've handled large tables is to create an inner navigation that allows us to scroll through the table independently of the rest of the content. So that allows the table to remain within the content and adaptive to any screen size for different presentation. So if we switch to, for example, a landscape presentation, we can see that the table automatically adapts to present on that new, with that new viewport for the content. And this is really important if you're delivering content to a broad variety of devices, because you never know what size the viewport is going to be. So to have your content be able to present adaptively is a very important feature in delivering this type of functionality. Now I'm also going to jump in and I'm just going to show how some of these elements look within the Windows presentation as well. So here at the very top of our datasheet document, we've presented a number of links. So these are actual links to the Texas Instruments website. So I'll just collapse my table of contents here. Here we can see a document feedback form. So here the user would actually be able to send feedback directly to the organization on the content of the document. Or we can connect to the engineer community. So this is an actual forum where people can exchange information. And we can see that it's fully up to date. This was just added a day ago. This was just added a couple of hours ago. And this is a fully functional web view. So we're able to extend our access to content beyond the content of the book. And that allows us to create infinite titles that are able to contain an infinite amount of information. So another advantage to the proLibro system is, unlike delivering on other platforms, we're able to continuously update the content and create different versions of the content within the system. But we do it in such a way that we're able to identify differences and deliver those differences to the users for integration with their existing content, and we do it without disturbing the existing personalizations. So users aren't going to lose their annotations or their notes or their history when a new version of the content is delivered. And we can even do some interesting things, such as work with revisions and revision history. So here we have a revision history, which is very basic. It doesn't give us a lot of information about what has changed within the content. But if I follow one of these, we can see that we've created an icon here. And this icon allows us to use the media panel in an interesting way. We can actually load different versions of the content and show the user a differencing presentation that shows them exactly where changes have been made within the content. This is really valuable for reducing the amount of support calls required and really informing the user as to where changes have been made within that content collection. Now, updates are part of the notification system. If I'm within the library and I go to launch a product and an update exists, it will actually come up with a window asking me if I want to download the latest version and handling the migration of those of any conflicts that may exist. Which means that if a section has been deleted, for example, where I had an annotation, I have the opportunity to relocate or to save or change that annotation. It's a very useful way of keeping content up to date without destroying the user's interaction with it. Now the system is actually fully white labeled, so we are able to create very rapidly a custom version of the content collection that contains all platforms, so Windows, Android, iOS, smartphones, tablets, PCs, and works with your branding, your icons, your splash pages, customizations to the installers and user guides and forms, and the ability to have your marketplace descriptions within the App Store. So it's completely branded to your organization. And it even gets updated over time. As we create improvements to the product and we're constantly adding new features to our system, those improvements are going to go out to your collection of applications and into the hands of your users. And we include an authentication API capability. So the authentication API allows us to integrate with an existing user database. That means your users don't need to learn a new username, a new password, have a new relationship with a new system that they have to register for. They can simply use the existing usernames and passwords that exist within your current system. So let's take a look at an example of one of those products. So this is a completely customized product for an organization called the Canadian Tax Foundation. And this product is connected back to the user database for the CTF. So when I log into this system, I'm not using my proLibro generic password. I'm using my CTF password specifically. And it's going to be customized to show me only my my CTF products. So it narrows the scope, so it's just the Canadian Tax Foundation products that are within the system. Everything associated with the system, if I look at the different legal notices, they'll be all marked up and all customized to that organization. So the white labeling really goes deep into how the content is being presented. So I'm going to launch one of their titles because there's a couple of interesting things that we've done within this this collection that take advantage of some of the JavaScript components that I referred to previously. So once again, it's a familiar interface across all of our different platforms. We're able to use the table of contents to navigate. We have that scrolling presentation of content. But we see that we've got elements in here that refer to the page numbers. So this is a way that we support both the digital version and the print version. Because they're selling this product both ways, we want to be able to allow these users to communicate to each other. So we've preserved the content that appears on the pages within the digital as well. So in this case, this is the content that appears on page 180. But we've added a little JavaScript function that allows us to follow a citation or a reference that someone might have given to us. They might have said, you know, jump to page 200 within the content. And when I jump to page 200, we can see that this is a very quick way for us to navigate around this, this content to get to different locations very quickly. We also can see that we've turned all of these footnotes into pop-ups, as opposed to sticking them at the bottom between the pages and breaking up the presentation of our content. We can now load those within pop-ups that allow us to maintain the context of this additional information without cluttering up the presentation of the screen. But if we happen to do a search on information that's contained within a pop-up, we'll see that the system will automatically open the pop-up to show us that that search result within the content. And then this particular implementation has used the media panel in an interesting way. So here we're using links out to external references that are going to give us additional information on this particular content. So this is a case reference in this case within a system called Canly. So it's a way of extending that content out to additional information. What we have here now with our table of contents navigation, our presentation window with powerful search, and our connections out to external content is a really powerful reference system. We can use that also within this particular collection to link out to other third-party sources. So this is another example of applying the JavaScript within the system to create a new applet for functionality, and it's a multi-link. So we can open up a multi-link and then use that multi-link to load different systems content and get additional information by logging into what is third-party material. So I can log into this content with my Walters Kluwer password, and it's going to actually give me additional information on Section 9 of the Canadian Tax Act. And then as I'm working through my research, if I come across other links within the content that go out to other sections, I can actually follow those links and get directly to that information without having to go through the process of logging in over again. So it is a session-aware presentation of content. So having your own branded capability, your own ability to create your own apps to deliver your content and push it into market using proLibro very rapidly gives you the ability to deliver content to all platforms in a fully controlled fashion. So we also have other tools that help the content owners and make this a more valuable system for people who have content that they're looking to deliver. So first of all, it is completely access managed. So we have concurrency support that ensures that the individual to whom you're looking to deliver the content is the individual that's using it. So this prevents people from acquiring, say, 1 or 2 licenses and sharing them with 20 people across the different devices. It actually is concurrency aware, so it will close down the content on another platform if it's opened on the first platform. We have encryption of the content throughout. So we encrypt the container that we deliver to, the package that we deliver to the device, and then we also encrypt all the communications that are taking place between the different devices and the server. So we're able to ensure that, that the information is not going to get intercepted. We provide detailed usage reporting, and this is a critical component of our system. So with proLibro, we actually are able to track how your products are being used. So we can tell you what sections of content are being accessed most often. We can tell you how long users spend within the content collection. We can create really cool term clouds that show either the searches that are being performed or the terms that are being used within notes. We can tell you what sections get annotated most often. There's a lot of information that's coming back to you. It's generated simply by the use of the product. That's a very different paradigm. Previously, pushing content out into our clients' hands was very much a broadcast activity. You had to do surveys, you had to work to find out how that information was being used. In this fashion, we're creating a feedback loop, so we've actually got the ability to collect that information simply from the product being used. As I mentioned earlier, we do continuously do app improvements and roll these out, both to the end apps and to the server tools. And of course, the server has the authentication API, which allows us to integrate with those existing systems. And then we have Build. And Build is our tool to allow you to rapidly create content and deploy it independently. So Build is a very effective tool to allow for rapid content deployment. I'm going to show just very quickly here a demo of Build in action. So this is our developer working with Build and a collection of DITA content. So we see he's downloading the DITA specification, which is an XML specification, down to his local desktop. And he's going to extract it to his local system. And I'm just going to move through some of this, some of these steps to highlight the different components. So he's extracted the DITA spec locally, and now he's opened up the DITA content in a transform utility called XML_mind. And this could be a transform such as Open Toolkit, DITA Open Toolkit. There's a number of different ways that we can convert this content. But he's going to convert this content to what we call a proLibro build project. And the build project is the format that Build is able to take in to allow us to view and update all of the information related to the publication that we want to push out. So in this case, he's loading that content into Build, and we can see the structure of the content. He's able to select different sections of information, view the source content, and then even preview it to see how it's going to look within the collection. So the Build tool exposes the general EPUB 3 format that the proLibro content is built with. But we use a far more granular collection of information, and there's a lot of elements that we've added that allow us to get that high performance navigation and really powerful search features. So once you're satisfied with your content within Build, you can then connect to the server to which you're going to distribute it, the Connect server. So you log in using your publisher credentials or your pub admin credentials, and it's going to list all of the different collections or products that you have control over and that you're able to distribute. So here he's taking a look at the DITA 1.2 specification. He's going to create an additional version, and he's going to add all of the metadata information, those splash pages, those book images, the author, the version information. All of that metadata is going to be added directly within the Build tool, and then we'll save it, and it will synchronize back to the server, and now it's ready to receive the updated content. So he'll go and he'll select the source project for the new content and generate a publish process. So he's now going through and publishing that content, and it's creating that secure package and delivering it to the server for distribution. So after it's successfully distributed, he's able to jump into the proLibro product. So here we see an earlier version of proLibro when it had the name Professional eBook. And he's ready to review that content. We can see the metadata that he's added to this collection. He can download and launch that particular product. And we'll see when he launches it, it has the splash page that he's added to the content collection, and we see a very rich presentation of this content. The table of contents has been completely constructed, so he's able to view the different sections of the TOC, jump to locations within the content. We can see that the tables are nicely rendered. We have good styling. Links are activated and functional. He's able to execute searches. Everything's been properly indexed and generate those relevancy ranked search results. So he's gone from a source content collection downloaded from the internet through the addition of metadata information and deployment to the published server, all the way through to a useful product that's ready for distribution. And he's done it in under 15 minutes. So there's no cuts in this video. It's a straight start to end process that's executed in under a 15-minute time frame. So Build is a very powerful way to easily get your content updated and online for your end users. And so there we have it. These are the elements of the proLibro system, and this is what we feel is the next generation of content delivery, where you've got total control over your distribution. Your users have effective and efficient tools with which they can consume the content. Everything synchronizes and works within a collection of devices and information. We offer full updatability to our content so that you can create continuously updated material, and you can deliver it in a fashion that users can use anytime, anywhere. Thank you very much.